standing here right now. I'm just saying. I just want to say that. I killed a handicapped kid, man, oh man. I mean, only one thing can really like follow it up. You gotta think, well, you know, OJ, but still, OJ traded one of his championship rings to get away with those murders. All right, so the reason why he got off. But now we're gonna bring up our next comic. I've seen him before. He's a great guy. You know, people mistake him for, you know, Jesus every now and then. It's okay. But my man, Mr. Jason Hazelwood.
Let's keep it going for John Johnson, everybody. We're bringing together a group of people that should never meet. John was talking about Sundays earlier, Mondays rather, and how Mondays suck, right? Mondays suck? Yeah. Yeah, well, the rest of my life sucks. Tell you what started last week. Last week I was going out to a comedy show, and my neighbor, who happens to be a roofer, it's nice having a neighbor who's a roofer because I have someone to drink with during the day. My neighbor, who's a roofer, says to me, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going out to do comedy." He said, "Hey, break a leg." Which is a nice thing for a roofer to say to a comedian. I said, "Hey, you too," which is not a nice thing for a comedian to say to a roofer. So when my roofer friend John fell off his roof on Wednesday, all of a sudden that was my fucking fault. And apparently roofers aren't doing so well in this economy, so John has a side business where he sells shit on eBay. So now I'm his lackey running stuff to eBay. John mentioned when I came up here that I don't look like a normal person. So when I'm carrying a bunch of boxes into the post office, they get a little nervous. But I'm in line at the post office, and I'm in line behind a woman, and this woman takes out her cell phone. She says to her friend, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you called because I have a funny story to tell you." Now, because I'm a stand-up comedian, when somebody says I have a funny story, I start listening. And believe me, I'm not above stealing jokes from a bitch in line at the post office. But 15 minutes into her conversation, she still hadn't said anything funny. So I took out my cell phone. I was like, "Oh my God, thank God you called, because this bitch in line in front of me at the post office said she had a funny story, but she never brought the funny." Now she's all pissed at me. She's like, "I'll have you know that this is a personal and private conversation." I said, "You know what? Mine is a personal and private conversation too. And if you weren't listening in on my super cool, personal, private conversation, you wouldn't know I was listening in on your lame conversation." Now I dropped off John's packages, I got my 80s hairband commemorative stamps, and I got the hell out of there. That's how my week started last week, and it only got worse because on Friday, I bought a minivan. Look at me. Boo, don't do that, that's horrible. Look at me. Do I look like I should be riding a fucking minivan? No.
Teaching Sean.
10 years ago, I thought maybe I'd have a van, but I thought it would be a big cargo van with a giant wizard painted on the side. That didn't happen. I thought maybe I would have a black minivan with a big red stripe down the side, and I would drive the A-Team around, but that didn't happen. I got a town and fucking country, people. And I got it so that I can pack my kids into the back of this town and country, and we can go places. And you know where we go? Sesame Place. Has anybody ever been to Sesame Place? Yeah. People admit it. It is a horrible, horrible experience. It is the armpit of the Lehigh Valley. Ladies, if you have never been to Sesame Place, don't go. Gentlemen, if you've never been to Sesame Place, go. You will see much cooler things in Sesame Place than you have ever seen at any strip club in your life. The last time I was at Sesame Place, I was in something called Ernie's Waiting Pool, and this girl's breast flopped right out of her bathing suit top. Nice. And it hung out there for so long that it started attracting a crowd. And not just a crowd of regular people, but a crowd of Muppets lying beside the pool. Cookie Monster was there, and he was like, boobies! The Count was there, he was like, one magnificent boobie! Bert and Ernie, not fucking there. Chewbacca was there, though, he was like, oh! Alright, Chewbacca wasn't there. Would have been cool if Chewbacca was there. Her breast hung out there for 20 minutes. And you may ask me, how do you know it was 20 minutes? You guys, how do I know? Because she had a nipple ring and a tattoo of a sunflower on her stomach, and it created like a sundial. And I counted 20 minutes as the shadow from the ring went around the sunflower. After 20 minutes, she realized it was hanging out. She quick flopped it back in. She looked around. Of course, all the Muppets had scattered, so she stared dead at me. And I was embarrassed, not because she caught me staring, but because all my money was in my shoes, so I couldn't even tip the bitch. I'm not a nice guy. I don't know if you picked up on that yet or not. But it's not my fault that I'm not a nice guy. You see, I had a tough childhood. Oh. Thank you. Somebody's paying attention. When I say I had a tough childhood, that is the proper response. You're all supposed to go, oh, so let's try it again. I had a tough childhood. Oh. Thank you. That is not the proper response. I had a tough childhood because my parents screwed me up. And anyone in here with children, you will do something that will screw your kids up. Yeah. But not me. My parents were really rough on us because my mom was an Avon lady. And it is hard to look this cool when you have to carry your lunch to school in an Avon bag. But my dad screwed me up too because when I was 8 years old, my dad ran over my pet turtle Shelly with a lawnmower. Don't laugh at that. That's another all moment, people. Oh. Thank you. He tried to tell me that that was an accident, but that lawnmower only had 2 settings, and one was for killing rabbits, and one was for killing turtles. Not an accident. And then, when I was in high school, I was at Saturday detention, and I was relaying these stories of my childhood to these 4 people who I met in detention, and I was talking about the time that I spilled paint on the garage floor, and I was like, no, Dad, what about you? And he was like, fuck you! And I was like, no! Actually, that was Bender from the Breakfast Club. That wasn't actually me. I drink a lot, and my memories get screwed up, but I did just recently join AA. Give it up for me. Thank you. My problem is that I get AA and AAA confused. Called my sponsor the other week. I told him I'd lock my keys in the car. Guessing a lot of drunks do this though, because he was like, brother, don't worry about it, brother. We're going to get through this together. You and me, brother. I was like, all right, Hulk, so you sending out a tow truck or what? I know I'm not supposed to call him out, but when you have a Hulkamania t-shirt and a blonde mullet, you're really not working the 12 steps. Hulk told me about the 12 steps. He told me that the first step is that you turn yourself over to a higher power. So now I'm walking with Jesus. The only problem is when you look like this and you're walking with Jesus, people just assume you're a Leonard Skinner cover band. People are constantly shouting at me and Jesus, dude, play Freebird! Thanks a lot, guys.